Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our English podcast. I'm so happy you're here with us again. Today, we're moving from A1 to A2. And yes, that means new skills, new sentences, and more confidence.
Exactly. At A1, you learned survival English. Things like, hello, I'm Lisa, or where is the bus stop? Now, at A2, you're ready for something bigger. You will start building longer sentences and expressing ideas, not only facts.
Let's explain it very simply. At A1, you often used one short sentence. For example, I like pizza. But at A2, you learn to connect ideas. You can say, I like pizza, but I don't eat it very often. See what happened? We added but and we made the thought longer.
Right. And you also start using more time expressions like sometimes, usually, never, every day, in the evening. These words help your sentence sound more natural. For example, I usually cook dinner at home, or I never drink coffee at night.
Another big step at A2 is talking about your opinion. At A1, you probably didn't say things like, I think, or I guess. But now you can say, I think this movie is great, or I guess it's going to rain. Opinions make your English sound more alive.
And one more important thing. At A2, you start asking better questions. Not only where are you from, but also what do you usually do after work? Or why do you like this place? Longer questions help you keep the conversation going.
So here's the idea for today. A2 means you already know the basic bricks. Now you learn how to build a bigger house with them. Longer sentences, new structures, more natural talking.
And don't worry, we'll guide you step by step. In the next chapter, we'll show you exactly how to make your daily routine sentences longer and smoother.
Ready? Let's move on. Okay, so we're going to talk about daily routines, but in a more advanced A2 way. At A1, you probably said things like, I wake up at 7, or I go to work. Simple, correct, but very short.
Right. At A2, we want to make your sentences longer and smoother. And the easiest trick is to add frequency adverbs. These are words like always, usually, often, sometimes, and never. They show how often something happens.
And here's something important about word order. In English, these adverbs usually go before the main verb. For example, I usually wake up at 7, not I wake up usually. That sounds strange.
But if your verb is be, like I am, you put the adverb after be. So you say, I am always tired in the morning, not I always am tired. That's another common A2 mistake.
Now, let's connect ideas. At A1, you said one sentence. At A2, you use and, but, or because to show more information. For example, I usually wake up at 7 and I drink coffee right away. The little word and makes your routine flow like a story.
Let's try another one. I sometimes go to work by bus, but I often walk home. See how but changes the meaning. It shows a contrast. You do one thing, but you also do something different.
And here's a great A2 structure. After. When you use after, the verb that comes after it should be in ing form. For example, after waking up, I stretch a little. Or, after eating breakfast, I check my phone. This sounds much more natural than two separate sentences.
You can also use before, the same way. Before going to bed, I read a book. If you say, before I go to bed, it's also correct. But the ing version sounds more fluent and more A2.
Let's build one long, natural routine sentence together. Something like, I usually wake up at 7, and after drinking my coffee, I check my email because it helps me prepare for the day.
Perfect. Notice how we used frequency, usually, time-linking words, after, and connectors, and because. This is exactly how you level up.
Now think about your routine. Try to make one short A1 style sentence longer. For example, I eat breakfast. You can upgrade it to, I often eat breakfast at home, but when I'm in a hurry, I grab something simple because I don't have time to cook.
Amazing. Okay, in the next chapter, we'll show you how to give opinions politely and clearly, which is a big A2 skill.
Are you ready? Let's go to Chapter 3.
Okay, so now that we can talk about routines in a longer way, it's time for something very A2, giving opinions. Many learners feel shy about this, but it's actually very simple.
The most important structure is I think. At A1, you didn't really use it, but at A2, it becomes your best friend. For example, I think this cafe is great, or I think English is fun. You add your idea after I think, and it instantly sounds more natural.
And here's a very useful rule. When you say I don't think, the next verb stays positive. So you say I don't think it's a good idea, not I don't think it isn't a good idea. That double negative makes the sentence confusing.
Another soft, friendly way to give an opinion is I guess. It's less strong than I think. For example, I guess he's busy today. It means you're not 100% sure, but it's your opinion.
And now, how do we disagree politely? At A2, you don't say you're wrong. That sounds too strong. Instead, you use softeners like I'm not sure about that or I don't really agree. These expressions make your English sound more natural and more polite.
We also use I think with but to show contrast. For example, I think this movie is interesting, but it's a bit too long. This structure helps you give balanced opinions, which is a big A2 skill.
You can also combine opinions with reasons using because. For example, I think learning English is fun because I can talk to people from different countries. This is exactly what we want at A2, a reason inside your opinion.
Let's build one full A2 style opinion. For example, I think this restaurant is really nice because the food is fresh, but it's a little expensive. You see, it has I think, a reason, and a small contrast.
Now try something similar with your own idea. Take something simple like I like this app and expand it into an opinion. For example, I think this app is helpful because the lessons are clear, but I need more practice.
Perfect. In the next part, we'll talk about preferences and the difference between like and would like, because many learners mix them up.
Let's move on to Chapter 4.
So now let's talk about a very common A2 problem, the difference between like and would like. Many learners confuse them, but they actually mean very different things.
Like is a state verb. We use it to talk about things we enjoy in general, something that is true in our life. For example, I like tea. This means tea is one of your regular preferences.
But would like is a polite form. We use it when we want something in this moment or when we talk about a wish or a plan. For example, I would like a cup of tea. That means you want tea right now, in this situation.
Another example, I like Italian food, means it's your general taste. But I would like Italian food today means it's your choice for this moment.
And here's a useful grammar point. After like, we use a verb with ing. For example, I like reading, I like swimming. But after would like, we use to. So, I would like to read, I would like to swim.
Let's make it clearer with a tiny mini dialogue.
I like coffee.
Oh, really? What would you like to drink now?
I'd like a latte, please.
Exactly. She likes coffee in her life, but right now she wants a latte. That's the A2 difference.
Let's try another one.
I like traveling.
Nice. Where would you like to go this year?
I'd like to go to Spain.
Perfect. Like equals general, would like equals specific moment, plan, wish, polite request.
And one more thing. Would like is more polite than want. So instead of saying, I want a sandwich, you can say, I'd like a sandwich. It sounds friendlier.
Okay, you're ready. In the next part, we'll move on to future plans and how to use going to, planning to, and would like to in a simple, clear A2 way.
Let's go to Chapter 5.
Now let's talk about something super important at A2, how to speak about the future. There are 3 very useful structures you will use all the time: going to, planning to, and would like to.
First, going to. We use going to when we already have a plan or a decision. For example, I'm going to visit my friend tomorrow. This means the decision is made.
And here's the grammar. You always need the verb be before going to. Many learners forget this. So you say, I am going to, you are going to, she is going to. Never say, I going to. That's a very common A2 mistake.
To make a question, you put be at the beginning. For example, are you going to travel this year? Or is she going to study tonight? It's simple, but learners often forget to move be to the front.
Now let's look at planning to. This structure shows that you have an intention, but maybe the plan isn't 100% fixed. For example, I'm planning to buy a new phone. It means you want to do it, but you might still change your mind.
Planning to is very useful in conversations about goals or ideas. For example, we're planning to start a new course, or I'm planning to get more exercise.
And now we'd like to. You already know would like from the previous chapter. When we talk about the future, it shows a wish or a polite idea. For example, I'd like to travel to Japan one day. It's something you want, but it's not a concrete plan yet.
Here's the difference in one simple line. Going to equals real plan. Planning to equals intention. Would like to equals wish. This helps your English sound much clearer.
Let's check typical A2 mistakes. 1. Forgetting be. So learners say, I going to watch a movie. The correct version is, I'm going to watch a movie.
Another mistake is mixing the forms. For example, I'm planning go. That's wrong. After planning to, you must say planning to go. Always planning to plus verb.
And many learners also say, I like to visit my grandma next week when they mean a future plan. But that sounds like a general preference. You should say, I'm going to visit my grandma next week.
Let's finish with a quick example that uses all three structures naturally. Something like, I'm going to clean my room today. I'm planning to cook dinner later. And I'd like to read a book tonight.
Perfect. Clear, natural English future. In the next part, we'll talk about everyday problems and the useful phrases you need to solve them politely.
On to Chapter 6. Now let's move into storytelling. At A2, you should be able to tell a short, simple story about something that happened in the past. And for that, you need the past simple.
The past simple is the tense we use for finished actions in the past, something that happened once at a specific moment. For example, yesterday I watched a movie, or last week I visited my cousin.
There are two types of past verbs, regular and irregular. Regular verbs are easy because you just add ed at the end. For example, walk becomes walked, visit becomes visited, watch becomes watched. But irregular verbs don't follow this rule. Their past form changes completely. For example, go becomes went, see becomes saw, eat becomes ate, make becomes made. You just have to learn these forms.
And here's something important. In the past simple, the verb never changes for he or she. There is no S. For example, he watched TV, not he watches Sid. The past form is the same for everyone.
To make a negative sentence, we use didn't plus the base verb. For example, I didn't go to work yesterday, not I didn't went. Went is already past, so after didn't, we go back to the basic form, go.
Questions work the same way. Did plus subject plus base verb. For example, did you see your friends? Did she buy the tickets? Never say, did you saw? That's a classic A2 mistake.
Now, let's build a tiny, clear A2 story using both regular and irregular verbs.
Something like, last weekend I visited my aunt. We walked around the city and ate lunch in a small cafe. After that, we went to the park, but we didn't stay long because it started to rain.
Perfect. Short, simple, clear. And notice how every verb shows a completed action in the past.
When you tell your own story, remember this order: when it happened, what happened first, what happened next, and how it ended. This structure keeps your story easy to follow.
Great!
In the next part, we'll work on useful connectors that make stories smoother and more natural at A2.
Let's continue.
Okay, let's take a moment to review everything we learned today. At A2, we added a lot of new tools to your English.
First, we talked about daily routines. Remember to use frequency adverbs like always, usually, sometimes, and never, and connect your ideas with and, but, or because. For example, I usually wake up at 7 and drink coffee because it helps me start the day.
Then we learned how to give opinions, use I think or I guess, and soft ways to disagree like I don't really agree. For example, I think this movie is funny, but it's a little long.
Next, we practiced preferences. Like is for general likes, and would like is for wishes or polite requests. For example, I like chocolate, but I'd like some ice cream now.
For the future, we used going to for real plans, planning to for intentions, and would like to for wishes. Example, I'm going to visit my friend tomorrow, I'm planning to cook dinner later, and I'd like to watch a movie tonight.
In storytelling, we practiced past simple. Remember, regular verbs add ed, irregular verbs change completely. Make negatives with didn't plus base verb, and questions with did plus subject plus base verb. Example, I visited my cousin, we went to the park, but we didn't stay long.
And finally, we saw how to combine all these ideas naturally. Connectors, adverbs, and polite expressions make your English sound fluent and clear.
Here are some must-know phrases from today. I usually, I think, I guess, I'd like to, I'm going to, I'm planning to, last week yesterday, I don't really agree.
Try to use these phrases in your own sentences this week. They are the building blocks of confident A2 English.
Great! Next, we'll give you a small homework to practice everything we learned.
Ready? Let's go to the last part, Chapter 9.
Now it's time for a small homework, just to practice everything we learned today. Don't worry, it's simple and fun.
First, write 3 sentences about your daily routine using frequency adverbs and connectors. For example, I usually wake up at 7 o'clock, and after breakfast, I go for a walk.
Second, give an opinion about something you like or dislike. Use I think or I guess and include a reason. For example, I think this book is interesting because the story is exciting.
Third, write 2 sentences about your future plans. Use going to, planning to, or would like to. For example, I'm going to visit my friend this weekend. I'd like to learn a new song on the guitar.
And finally, tell a short story about something that happened last week. Use past simple, regular, or irregular verbs, and try to add at least one connector, like and, but, or because.
That's it, just a few sentences. But if you do this, you will practice all the A2 skills we covered today.
Thank you so much for learning with us. Keep practicing, and your English will get stronger every day.
See you next time for another fun lesson.
Bye, everyone!
Bye.